See, I knew I knew you knew what I was doing there. Mm-hmm. Wait a little bit. Give the peoples a moment.
Yep.
Yeah, the Summer Games Fest was 2 hours. So I was like, when you said let's just do recap, I was like, you know what? Yeah, because then we'd be on here.
We'll be here forever.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a whole
already like it's probably gonna be a lighter show than in other years. I think if I had to guess, I bet Xbox pulled some of their stuff. And then some of the other companies are doing their own little mini shows. And Nintendo hasn't announced their next Direct. So I bet there's just stuff being kind of hoarded.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you don't have like the consolidation of E3 anymore. So it's just like everybody's like, well, I'll do my own show and it'll just be my stuff. Because it's like, I think we have a quick hit, which was, what was it? It's like a 1 minute ad was like, what, $200 million? A 100 million,
or 250,000.
250,000. Yeah, that makes more sense. I was like, wait, I said that wrong. I heard it when it came out of my mouth. I'm like, that sounds like too high. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, like, you know, big audience, but still.
Yeah, I'm impressed by Jeff that he's gotten it to that spot, you know, so I appreciate it.
He's making moves.
Oh, Jeff Keighley making money moves.
Making money, the pyramid, money.
Oh, man. Now I'm thinking about what happened with the G4 folks. It's like, what are they doing now?
I know I saw like Adam Webb doing something because I remember reading like an article like a couple of months ago of like, what are G4 people doing? And I remember I saw like Adam Webb is doing some like web show stuff. I can't remember what Morgan, what's his name? It's Morgan Webb and
Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb.
There we go. I like fused names. I was like, no, that's not right.
You can find him in one person.
Morgan Webb, Adam Sessler is doing like some kind of like online web show, something, I think. I don't remember if Morgan Webb was doing anything. And I know, what's her name? Olivia Munn was like, I don't know, doing streaming or something. Or maybe she was posting something on Twitter. I can't remember. Basically, this is like a half remembered, like I read an article like 2 to 6 months ago. Hold up. I got to close my door because I got my air conditioner on and it is not doing a thing. I'll tell you.
Poor
it's like all the air is coming right out the air conditioner and going straight out my room. Alrighty. What stuff we got on the docket today?
What we got on the docket? I guess I should do an intro. It's been a while. We haven't done an intro.
Yeah. Hit us.
Yeah. Hit us. Hey everyone, it's Commandership and Grandmaster Fox. Wait, Grandmaster Fox or Grandmaster Fro?
Grandmaster Fro.
Grandmaster
or I guess here on Twitch I'm Imminent Doom X. So there's
Imminent
that.
Doom X. That's sorry.
That username I definitely remembered I
had. It's our first State of the Nerd Union in a long time, and it's pretty. It's we're either talking about AI, or we're talking about gaming, or we're talking about AI in gaming. Like that's pretty much a show. Like you can pretty much, you know, if you're here for movies, go somewhere else because we don't really. It's a sad summer for movies.
Or AI and movies.
Oh God, you're right.
Yeah, we got one of those.
No. So sit back and let the existential dread just wash over you. You know. But of course, if you want to play God of War on PSN, yeah, we'll talk about that. So we got some great topics later in the show. We're also going to be talking a little bit of Sony State of Play. You know, there's some Silent Hill 2 trailer that came out. It was really cool. And some other things that kind of dropped on that. So we'll get into that a little bit. As always, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch. We can see your comments across all 3 channels. So as the show's going on, feel free to chat with us and we'll try to comment and get back to you. Also, if you catch this later, like if you don't catch it while it's live, still throw your comments on there. There's no guarantee that we're going to be able to answer or come back on all of them, but you know, we'll try to poke our head in as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you live on Discord. If you're on Discord, we'll probably see that. We'll probably be able to comment on that quicker. So, with no further ado, let's talk about. There's one quick hit. We already kind of gave you the $250,000 for ads on the Summer Game Fest, which it's impressive. It's impressive. I don't know if I should feel good about that.
I mean, it means that they're doing well. So, I mean, hopefully they're not going to go the way of E3 where we're just like, okay, bye.
Yeah, hopefully not. I guess the side there is like if E3 had a chance to maybe come back before when the pandemic was starting to ease, but they never really had that in-person shot.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that also, like Gen Con's come back since then. A lot of conventions have come back since then. So like E3 and that in person, I mean, I know people have been pulling away. The developers, to be clear, have been pulling away. I think people still liked going to E3. So
yeah, because it's cool. You get to go and hang out with people who are interested in talking about video games. Like it's an anime convention for video games.
Yes. Bingo. But we're going to talk real quick about a study. I know it's like a study that came out of Ohio State talking about smurfing. For folks that may not know what smurfing means, do you currently have 2 accounts that you play on a game? Do you have 3? Do you have 4? Do you have 5? Are they all at different levels inside that same game? Then you might be smurfing. So the interesting thing that the study found, most people, when they hear that term or know that people are doing that, or in game very angry at the person doing that, especially they figure out that like, oh wait, you're really an Onyx level player in Halo, but you're like on a silver account. Okay. Okay. Right. So the study figured that's how everyone's interactions or how angry everyone's going to be. That's how people reported it initially. The study showed that actually there's a lot of compassion may not be the right word, but there tend to be a lot of understanding for people that had the account, because some of the people that were in the study also said, we do it too. We may not have 5 accounts, but we might have 1 extra burner lying around.
Yeah, they were like, oh yeah, like my smurfing is like totally not that bad. Not like how everybody else is doing it.
The interesting thing I found in the study too is that even people that don't game, when they explained what it was and kind of got people's opinions on it, they kind of had a similar response. Some of the things given from gamers and non-gamers was sometimes you just want to play with your friends, and if they're all trying to rank at the same time, they're not playing on a social playlist, the only way you can play with them sometimes is being in an account that's at a similar level, even if your gameplay is not at the same level.
Which is a nice way of saying is that like I'm the person who's good at the game, and none of my friends are the person who's good at the game. So you make a Smurf account so you can play with your friends.
Yeah.
And you just throw a little bit, and it's like, oh, it's like I use the metaphor of like playing Mario Kart at Thanksgiving with your younger siblings, and it's like, hey, yeah, I want to play silver, so it's like I'll dominate people and I'll get like 10 kills, and then I'll like let you kill me like 5 times or whatever, just to balance it out.
Back in my day, I had to play Halo 2 by my what was it? Me and my cousin and my brother. And they were younger and not as good, so it was always 2v1 all the time.
Yep, that's how you did it. Like GoldenEye, it's like slappers only, 3-on-1. It's like, and you get demolished if you're the younger person. You just get demolished every time, and that's how you get good. It's like my cousins never let me win. It's like if I won, it was either because they was real tired and they fell asleep, or because I won for real.
Yeah. There's a I'll say one thing and then we can move to the Cinephile, but yeah, there's that feeling when like you're notice like I've had this when like someone's getting better, like, oh, wait a minute. It's like this is not saying it's always easy. I don't want to make that, but sometimes you're like, oh,
It's like, oh, all right, I see you. It's like, look who's out here learning what all the buttons do. I had that experience. What's it called? Yesterday. And it was like I was dancing with one of my friends doing Lindy, and it was like, we started to do some move, and I was like, oh, check you out here, connecting your body to the rest of your body when you dancing. And I'm like, oh, check you out. We got a whole connection here. I was like, all right, I see you.
Got a whole thing going.
It's like, you done changed since DCLX. I see.
Let's see. Next up for the cinephiles, I think you ended up right. You want to lead us off?
Yeah, I got this one. So yeah, we touched on this briefly. A little bit of AI coming together with film. For what it is. So apparently a story from Variety.com speaks about film AI is apparently making leaps and bounds, according to Ashton Kutcher. He's been recently messing around with a generative film, I guess you would call it, tool that's currently still in beta called Sora. And in his own words, it's apparently pretty amazing. The next from the article, he said that you can generate any footage that you want. You can create like good 10 to 15 second videos that look really real or very real. It still makes mistakes. It doesn't quite understand physics. But if you look at the generation of it that existed 1 year ago, as compared to contemporary Sora, it's leaps and bounds like ahead. In fact, there's footage in it that I would say you could easily use in a major motion picture or a television show. He gave the example of like if you're just doing like an establishing shot of like a house, like why go out on location and like, get the whole film crew together and spend several $1,000s when you could do it for like a couple $100s and just like do a generative shot of this is a house, and then then you have the part with the actual actors when you're filming the show. Or if you're doing, he uses other examples, like if you're doing like an action scene where he gets kicked off of a building and has to fall off of a roof. Like rather than like have a stunt person like go through and set everything up and like something might go wrong, just do like that particular shot in AI and then have the rest of it be practical effect. One of the things that he says that you can like I just said, he says you can save a lot of money doing that. Tyler Perry, on the other hand, apparently halted an $800 million studio expansion project in Atlanta after seeing what Sora could do. And he said that there's got to be some kind of regulations that's in place to protect us, like the actors and film crew, editors, blah 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 blah. In an interview with a Hollywood Reporter, he said, if not, I don't see how we can survive. So totally reasonable, because like if you're a part of the film crew and they're not asking you to go out on an extra day and go film, placing shots of like houses or street corners or cafes or doing whatever, and they're just generating that stuff, like that's income that you're not getting feasibly. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, and what people are probably not going to realize, the reason this could happen like that is a lot of people get focused on the CGI of like Caesar, like Andy Serkis playing Caesar and like Planet of the Apes, or your Thanos and your different big characters and stuff like that. People get focused on that so much that they don't realize that there's a lot of CGI happening to make a street. Like instead of building a full set, they're building one or two things now, making it much smaller. The whole Statue of Liberty set in Spider-Man No Way Home, because one, they were trying to keep it secret, but two, there was like COVID protocols. So they're like, we're not shooting any of this on location. So like, it's all going to be, and as but that's CGI making the rest of that space work. Right.
Yep.
So I don't think people realize, like, they're thinking about the characters and like, oh, that character looks good or doesn't look good. Just like, I mean, it's cars, it's light posts and things like that you don't even think about. So the idea that the AI probably is already, I don't know this for sure. So I'm not reporting this, but it would not surprise me if the AI was already learning off of models that have already been built of fake Hollywood sets. Right. So
that's completely feasible.
Yeah. It's probably not gonna take anything for it to, like, he said a 1 year massive jump. Yeah, I would not be surprised if like in next year, like that's a major contention. And I know they just struck a deal, and I have to go back and see like how much of it did it talk about this specific issue.
Yeah, it's like when you think about like how CGI can be used in media, like yes, it's like the big stuff like characters, and that's kind of the stuff that people usually talk about when it like stands out as being good or bad. But like you said, like folks don't realize like how much of their background stuff isn't like an actual set design. Like it would probably be it's probably a more similar comparison, like thinking of Spider-Man, to say like it's if you took a shot from a video game and then added real people into it, like that's how much CGI is generated. Where like the people standing there in the scene are real and almost nothing else is. So it's like if you're using it for like that kind of stuff, or even just like establishing shots, or you're using it for background generation or whatever, or probably proof of concept of like, oh, I have a general idea of the flow and like the shot direction that I want to have, and then we'll use that as a tool, as like a staging tool, and then we'll shoot it so that like people can see what I have as a director, like visualize. So you could use it for that, and like you might even notice use it as like a
but they've already
preliminary
been doing
tool on the way.
With the volume tech by NVIDIA.
Mm-hmm.
Where they've got the projection of what the scene's going to look like, or it's already finished graphics and the actors get to interact with that, right? And that's effectively the scene. Like they don't end up having to add much more. Like it's
very far
already
along.
been here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ugh. More reporting.
Yeah.
We're going to do my end. Cool.
Cool.
You got Dragon Age? Is that?
Yeah, I got Dragon Age. Moving on into game time.
Game time.
So Dragon Age 4 trailer came out a little while ago. It was mostly just like an announcement trailer. I think it came out last year. Previously, it was going to be called what was it? Dragon Age like Wolfendom, something like that. And they kept changing the name and messing around with it. But apparently the name that they settled on is Veilguard for Dragon Age 4. So they said a while ago that they were going to come out with a trailer for like a proper trailer, more than just an announcement trailer. The summer of this year, which according to Game Informer, said that like supposedly should probably be next week. So on the horizon, we should get some like real meaningful, tangible news about Dragon Age 4, which is great because I think probably less than a year ago, I was like, oh, let's do another playthrough of Dragon Age Inquisition. And I was like, this is a good game. And then I was like, let's do a good playthrough of Dragon Age 1. And I downloaded a whole bunch of mods that like make the game way harder. And I'm like, let's play on hard mode. And I'm like, this is too hard. And then I stopped. I like got to a fight that I'm like, I just had no strategy to win. And they were like, yeah, if it's too hard, you might need to go into the game files and reduce the difficulty. And I'm like, I ain't doing that. I'm like, we just gonna play something else. Yeah, I done goofed.
Speaking of a potential goof, if you use Xbox Game Pass, which I'm not knocking you for using Game Pass, but the thing we all said was probably going to happen is probably going to happen. Sources have been saying that there's a Call of Duty announcement on the horizon. So probably at the Xbox Game Showcase, they're going to announce a new Call of Duty, possibly a trailer, and that there may be an exclusivity window with that tied to Game Pass. So they can't not release it on Sony. So if you remember the fight that was happening with Xbox or Microsoft gaining Activision, that was one of the sticking points. And whether that's still going to hold true, that's a longer conversation. But they can't. For some of the antitrust things, they're not going to be able to just be like, no, we only have Call of Duty. But exclusivity window, most likely. So expect that to be tied to Game Pass. And whether that means you could only get it on Game Pass, we don't know for sure on that. Again, there's vague sources, so we'll probably know exactly once the showcase happens. But this is not surprising at all because this is what everyone have been calling since they got the Activision.
Yep.
Is that they were either going to try to freeze Sony out completely and just own Call of Duty, and if they couldn't do that, this is probably the next closest thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's I understand why they would do it, but it's like also like there's so many people playing your game. Why would you make the market smaller? Like it's like you're taking a chance, and like it's a pretty good chance. Like you're taking a chance of like is like people's love for this game specifically big enough to make them buy a different console.
Right.
And it's
especially if they've already sunk money on a PS5.
yes. And it's a thing of like, you know, if you might take it's I could see the argument that like you'll take a hit right now, but by the time the next gen of consoles comes out, like you know, you're taking it's a little bit of a gamble. Is there going to be something that's like a new hotness that comes out of you force Sony's hand to like make something that's Call of Duty but better? And like by and like you then split the market of like, oh well, now people went from everybody's playing our game, everybody's buying it on PC, you know, everybody buying on PC, Xbox, PS5 or whatever, and then Sony comes out with their own Call of Duty that's just as good or incredibly similar or imperceptibly different. Because they're like, oh, the formula's already been made. It's like we know how to make shooters that people who like those games like. So you make a game that's imperceptibly the same and let it be crossplay. And then you know what are they gonna go to? It's like that's the best way to stick it to them. It's like, oh yeah. Well, we'll release this game on Xbox. It's like you can play Call of Duty if you have an Xbox, or you can play our game and it's on PlayStation and it's on Xbox and it's on PC and you can crossplay everywhere. And it's like, you know, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. Like for me, when I was growing up, it was like my mom was like, we don't buy a new console unless you got, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 games that you know you want. Because you ain't gonna buy a GameCube just for Luigi's Mansion. Like you gotta have a list. You gotta have a list.
Well, no, but that's fair. I was not into Luigi's Mansion when it came out, but Rogue Squadron was enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what else was? Well, okay, Wind Waker wasn't announced yet. I don't think.
No, it would have been. What was the first one that was on there? I'm trying to think of early
Wave Race
GameCube games.
There was a Prime
F-Zero. Yeah, Metroid Prime.
I don't know if it launched. I'd have to go back and look and see if it launched, but it definitely was like close. So it was like, hey, here's a demo of it, enjoy it, and then it eventually came.
Animal Crossing. I know there was like the 4-pack Legend of Zelda big demo thing, because it was like it had Ocarina of Time. I think it had a 30-minute demo for what's it called? Wind Waker, like a couple of other stuff. But yeah. And then I remember because there's a speed run challenge of can you beat like Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time on that 30-minute game demo, and the answer is yes, like just barely. You can like glitch your way through it's the whole game, but you only get a 30-minute timer. So it's like, can you glitch your way through
I did know that.
Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time, whichever one it is, and beat the game before the time expires? And like just barely, yes, you can.
I forgot about that. Yes, that's wild.
Yeah. But similarly, a brief tangent. I saw like a double tangent. Where we'll loop all the way back around, where somebody did a video essay about what was it, game exclusivity or console exclusivity, or having an exclusive release for something is inherently good for games. And like their argument, and I don't necessarily disagree, is that like when a game comes out and it gets like an exclusivity window or whatever, like what was it, Ghost of Tsushima was exclusive to, I think, I'm not sure if it was consoles or just PS5 or whatever it was, but it
came on PS4 first.
Yeah, or it was exclusive to Sony. And then like I think recently it came to Steam, or it's like about to come to Steam. I'm not sure if it's out yet or if it just came out. But like their argument was like, you know, something gets like a timed release or an exclusive release window of like it's on this console for a year, and it's like you go like, oh man, I won't play it for another year, and then like by the time it's come out, like they're already, you know, they've maybe already released the DLC, like they fixed all the launch bugs, like the game has way more polish on it, and then it comes to whatever your console is, and then like it's got, you know, all the updates, it's got DLC, and they've got all of the money from the game coming out the first time, and it gets to come out again, and then it's like if they make enough money, they're like, yo, here's some more DLC, and just slap it on.
Yeah.
So his argument was that like it was exclusively good. I was like, you know what? I didn't think about it because I've never really been mad about like that kind of stuff. But it was like it was something where I'm like, you know, that's a good argument.
Yeah, it's not bad. Might have helped Cyberpunk launch better.
Probably yes. If Cyberpunk would have came out on PC first by itself, it would have done fine. It wouldn't have even been a problem because when you're trying to like balance and fix bugs for what did it come out on like 4 consoles at once?
Well, because it was trying to work on, it needed to work across the Xbox family, PS4, and eventually
and
PS5. But
and
the PS5
PC.
version was not ready. The Series X one was buggy as hell.
Yep.
And then trying to play it on the lowest Xbox just was not happening. So PC, I think we talked about that. PC had the best experience.
Yep. I played it on PC. I was like, I'm having a great time.
Eventually felt better. Yeah, y'all were like, what are y'all talking about? This game is, it's like, yeah, there's like 1 or 2 things. It was like, this is solid. And we're like,
and then I like go on Reddit and I see the video clips. I'm like, oh man, it's rough.
We have things not rendering, and I'm like, I don't know where to go because I can't see where
it reminds me of playing like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on PS2, and it would be like sometimes you get on the highway and you're going so fast that like none of the stuff around you can render fast enough, and it's like you're driving on the highway and then like you suddenly just like crash into a vehicle, and then like 4 seconds later, like a giant 18-wheeler renders in front of you.
Yeah, you just crash all of a sudden. You're like, what happened? It's like there. Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. So I swear I'm not teasing, but I could have a tangent on tangent, and I promise I'll end. I want to do like a series of like what were the best launch titles. And then like what were like some of the worst launch titles. And I think maybe Scott the Woz has done a little bit of that, but sometimes I kind of want to be like, okay, but which console had objectively like just like have a debate, like which one had the worst launch lineup, right?
So I have when I bought my 360, I got. I think it came with two games. One I think was Marvel. What was it? Ultimate Alliance. Which was absolutely fire game. Like just a great
we don't talk about
multiplayer co-op game off the bat. And I also got what was it? It was some racing game. I want to say it was like Forza or whatever.
It might have been early like Forza 2 or something. Yeah.
And I didn't like one. Like games that come with the console are not even worth the space on the GameStop shelf, so they won't take it. So like I tried to trade that in, and it was like
I got a counter for you, but go ahead.
I tried to trade it in because I was like, oh well, it comes with 2 games, I don't want the other one, and they were like, oh well, like we can't take it because like you know it comes packaged with literally every Xbox game, so like it's functionally worthless because who would buy it? Because it comes with your Xbox. And I was just like, I was so mad. I literally to this day, I have it on my shelf back at home, and I have never, ever opened it. And I'm like, I will not play this game because it's like, they're like, yo, you have to pay us to take it because like it takes up space on the shelf and nobody's going to buy it. And I'm like, I'm not opening this. I don't want it. You shouldn't have gave it to me.
Shouldn't have gave it to you. But Dan, you might have, I might be proving your point. I was about to say, like, Jet Set Radio was bundled, but it was with this whack ass racing game, Sega GT.
Yep.
No one played Sega GT. You played like, Project Gotham Racing, or you played Burnout when it eventually came out.
Exactly.
Or then Forza.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, if they would have gave me like Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Burnout, I would have been like, yo, let's go. I'm like, nah, Forza, no thanks. Definitely not Forza 2. And I'm like, nah, I'm here to drive into people on purpose because that's a part of the game.
All right. Do you want to take on Justice League?
Yeah. So speaking of driving into people on, yeah, easy. Just kill the Justice League. But speaking of driving into things on purpose and transitional segues, Warner Brothers took a massive loss on the Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, which, if you're not familiar, is like a looter shooter that they had been working on for a long time. I think it was something to the tune of, was it $200 million? Yeah, $200 million. Oof.
Yeah.
So they had been, it came out back in February, and just been like not performing well. And then basically Warner Brothers and the game developer studio of Rocksteady have since like reflected on why. And essentially what it boiled down to was they didn't really have a firm artistic understanding of what they wanted the game to be. So they teeter-tottered back and forth between like, do they want it to be a shooter, like shooting focused? Do they want it to be melee combat focused? And then Rocksteady is like just not well versed in making multiplayer looter shooters, where like they're really known for doing like big, expansive single player open world games. I think they did Arkham, and what was the other one that they did? Blanking on it.
I'm trying to remember what they did that wasn't Arkham.
Yeah, really. And it was to the tune that like they were so dedicated in the single player open world experience that when the when a number of employees found out, they were like, I don't want to do that. So they split. There were two higher up, I think it was two of the co-founders left to do their own thing at some point during the process. So it was like you had like a whole lot of talent left. And then they kept switching back and forth of just like, what did we want this game to be? And, the end result suffered for that to the tune of like, $200 million. So they were putting in effort, but, we've seen it before with what was the Marvel game. I can't remember the name of that one.
The Avengers?
Yeah, there we go. It was whatever the Avengers title was called, where it was just like, by the time that they figured out what they wanted it to be, it was like, on one hand you had, great value versions of all of the Avengers because they couldn't get the likeness for the people who were in the films. And it's like, you look at
10 years too late.
Yeah, it's like you're looking out like Tony Stark or Iron Man in the film, and it's like his faceplate comes up, and it's like, who is this? This is Tony Stank. Like that ain't Iron Man. That ain't Robert Downey Jr. I'm like, at the very least, they could have just used the faces from the comic book, but then they're probably like, oh, then it's like your likeness from the comic book looks too much like the actor from the movie, and then like you get into that kind of stuff where I'm like, well, I mean, the reason that you were picked is because you look like the dude from the comic book, but yeah. Whatever. But yeah, I think the CEO of Warner Brothers like just said like he's quoted as saying like it's a disappointing outcome for the game. So sucks. Sad reacts only.
Sad reacts. Hey, you remember Netflix gaming?
I sure don't.
I mean, they say it's happening.
I mean, are you talking about their online? I know they were was that Netflix? Technically that was Amazon. So no, never mind. I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, go ahead.
Right, because Amazon did launch.
They were trying to make a console.
It's like a purple controller or something like that.
Yeah, and it did not. It went ultra bad. Like I think they made a game and it went in the beta, and the beta was so bad it came out of beta.
It lasted shorter than Stadia though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, you could play on Stadia, but I mean, okay. I'm gonna get distracted. I'm gonna go on a rant.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Netflix gaming. They are pushing out a lot more mobile games. If you like Emily in Paris, Dragon Prince series, so they got a new one. Zandia was the subtitle for that one. And they're releasing 14 new games, not all based off of Netflix properties, but there's a good chunk of them that are based off of those. And but those are the 14 that are announced are on mobile. We've yet to really see, I can play a Stranger Things RPG on my Netflix app. So I think that's what everyone thought we were going to get. And maybe that is still happening down the pipe. I don't know. But we haven't heard any kind of announcement like that yet. Cool. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot. Actually, apologies, folks. The bigger announcement inside of that for folks that are Lord of the Rings fans, there is a Lord of the Rings Tales of the Shire game coming out.
Yeah.
But then again, that will also still be on mobile. So
just what everybody wanted.
Oh, and I should say, like, I'm not trying to have disdain for mobile. I like playing mobile games. It's just that's not what
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Playing mobile games is fine. But when you're really what was the one thing? I think it was EA. It was was it Warcraft? I think like after not getting any news about like a Warcraft game, like that was like the next news they got about Warcraft was a mobile game, and people were like, but they booed them at whatever their like announcement event thing was or whatever, and the guy, one of the developers was quoted as like, "Do you guys not have phones?"
It's like if Valve announced a Half-Life mobile
Half-Life
game
3.
and be like, people they might get the benefit of the doubt just because of the Steam Deck, and everyone's just like, we're not gonna boo you because this thing is great.
Yeah.
But
also I'm gonna boo you because like, yo, you haven't made a game in how many decades? And then the next thing you do is this.
Angry, upset, massively upset. All right, that takes us out of game time. Well, I guess technically we're going to return to some game time when we talk Sony, but time for us to check the tech. What's that? Yep.
T-pose.
Because it's a check mark.
Yeah, there you go. Sure. It's
Boo.
definitely a check mark.
That is when I should get booed. They're like, no, Kenneth.
Taking out the spray bottle.
I won't be mad. I get it. Let's see.
You want to take the first one?
Yeah, I can take this one.
Okay.
So, the California Department of Technology is trying to roll out a new AI bill for safety. Some of the key components that they're listing in it, it'd be a new set of regulations by the Department of Technology that Silicon Valley companies over a certain threshold, and we're trying to look and see what that threshold was, whether it's like the number of employees or the size of the company, as far as valuation or anything like that. Don't know that yet. But the idea being like, if you're a big enough company making a large enough AI set, we want to kind of like wrangle, not necessarily wrangle that in, but just actually define what those regulations are. A key sticking point we saw was the ability to be able to turn it off. So like if you're developing this thing, what are your avenues for being able to turn it off, and then protecting consumer data, and having ability to protect consumer data in that way. So again, there's things that we need to get a little bit more specified. And again, they may have that, and just we weren't able to access it yet. But it is reportedly making some companies a little bit anxious, since majority of our AI companies are based in Silicon Valley or have large office footprints in California. It'd probably be the way that they can, even if it's in the state of California, that's going to affect everyone in the U.S. just by virtue of those regulations. So I like it. Again, I want to see what more specifically what they're asking for, like what is the nitty gritty details on it. But there haven't been a lot of federal regulations come out yet, and it's probably going to be a while before we get that because nobody there knows what they're talking about.
Yep, they don't have a lot of technocrats down in DC.
Yeah,
well, at least not where it matters. Not where it matters.
Not where it matters. They barely understand the internet. They still get that wrong.
Yeah.
So AI is not a space where I expect the federal government to be solid at.
I mean, I agree that in a lot of things, California does serve the role as like a diet control, like technological controlling body for the rest of the U.S. in that like along the same lines, like they passed a bill wherein anything that might be carcinogenic, causing cancer, you have to label it on the item. Because I remember one time I was in what is that store called? It's not Comp USA. It's not Circuit City. What is that called?
Fry's?
No, it's a
Where's
computer
it?
store. I'm blanking.
At Micro Center.
Micro Center. Thank you. I'm like, I always got to walk it forward because I'm always like, Comp USA, Circuit City, Micro Center. There you go. But I was in like a Micro Center and I'm like buying like, what is like a Bluetooth speaker or something. And I'm like, I happen to look at the box and it says like, oh, it might cause cancer. And like me and the guy who I happen to be standing next to, and I'm like, we're like, the hell? And I was like, what you mean this might cause cancer? And the long and short of it is because of a bill passed in California where you have to label anything that might be carcinogenic as such, the knee-jerk reaction for anybody who sells stuff in California is just put that it might cause cancer on it. So in effect, the bill actually serves the opposite cause because, like, in order to not be held liable, everybody just puts like, hey, this might cause cancer and just slaps a sticker on it, even if it probably doesn't, or it probably likely doesn't. But along those same lines, you know, if they by having this AI bill, because they have to adhere to the same criteria, like they're not likely to have like a if user is in California, then you know run this other thing, but like more likely that like you have to develop these two things alongside in tandem. A really good like shorthand comparison is the new AI search feature that Facebook introduced that everybody hates. Like you in the case of like you have to be able to turn it off, like you need to be able to have a standard, you know, what I'll call a Google style search feature that like you just type it in and it just does like a pattern matching word based search based off of whatever you type in. Don't try to interpret what I'm typing in and it's like smart suggest me stuff. Like if they say turn it off, like there's something that's wrong, like, you know, you type in something in the search and then like the AI suggester is spitting out social security numbers or whatever. You know, you need to be able to like hit a button and fall back to just doing a regular search. So what you'll effectively get is that every company, because California is big and there's a lot of money there, is gonna want to support both because they want to be able to play ball with California. We saw the same thing with the loot boxes as gambling thing, like in the UK, of like once one country passed it, you know, it starts rolling through with everybody else. So,
yep. God, I hate that that's where we're at. They've got to be. I mean, I'm glad that it will hopefully have an impact, but I hate that that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's a shame that it has to start there and then. Like, you know, DC is like, what's an AI? Like the Terminator?
That's a series of tubes.
Yeah, right. Is AI heavy? AI doesn't weigh anything.
Just the weight of a data center. Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of transitional segues and using AI to market to people.
Real quick.
Hit it.
Hey, Taryn, we see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got some Twitch comments. No, we weren't talking about Juul. We were just talking about Steve was talking about a speaker box, Bluetooth speaker box, but just AI in general, regulation in California. So, yeah.
I know it looks like I just dropped a tea bag on the floor. I did not. My trash can's right there. Just
I don't know. I think that's. Hey, chat. Did he drop a tea bag on the floor? Get in the comments.
Text yes to 16952 if you want Steve to drop more tea bags on the floor. Alrighty. Moving on, we got LinkedIn was forced to turn off their targeted advertising tool in order to comply with EU regulations. Speaking of transitional segues, you know. But the long and short of it is Microsoft effectively removed LinkedIn EU users from being marketed to as a group. On LinkedIn, if you join a group or a collective, it might be for Ben, Black Employee Network, or NESB, or what's the other one? IEEE or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Previously on LinkedIn, you could be marketed to as a whole collective. So if you had opted out of being marketed to by merit of demographic, that could be circumvented by them marketing to that group page, and thus not respecting the individual choices that you had selected. So because of that, they removed that ability. So now you can't circumvent an individual user's configuration because they're just in some group.
Yeah. When I read that, I was like, it took me a second. I'm like, wait, did you just take all the LinkedIn users off of the marketing? But it's like, oh, wait. Like it took me a second to realize today. No, you're saying you found me based on being in this group when I had previously said no. I'm like, it'd be like if I, as a Facebook user, had said no, but because I'm in a Facebook group, you're like, still gotcha.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to get comic book ads, and then like because I'm on like Moon Knight Core on Facebook or whatever, they're like, "Yo, we got them, hit them with the comic book ads."
Yeah,
go see Venom 3, please.
You know how I feel about that series. I'm teasing. Venom is a fun series. It's
a fun movie. It's just that they don't.
It's a fun movie.
They don't have anything else that's fun within the same universe. It's just that.
Yeah. No, and that's.
I'll put this as a pocket. At the end of the show, we got to talk about Madam Web because we haven't talked about Madam Web.
I actually really wish we'd been back on live shows when that came out. I probably should just go see the video about it. Oh gosh, so bad. We'll talk about it in a second. I said the human AI pin. That's sorry, just laughing at show note mistake on my part. The humane AI pin is tanking horribly. They were hoping to sell 100,000 units. They've only sold 10,000 units, and of those 10,000 are plagued with issues, overheating, and they've had to recall the charging pin for the humane AI. If you're not aware what the humane AI is, the idea was that it was going to be a contextual AI. You could pin on your shirt. It would look at the things around you. You could ask it questions like, "What is that?" "Oh, it's a butterfly." Kind of get that kind of interaction.
What are those?
What are those? And it probably give you an answer like, "You didn't get the joke."
It'd be great if you say "what are those" in a particular tone. If it will just respond straight trash every time. It's like, "What are those?" Like straight trash.
That would be fantastic. That would probably require Black programmers to be involved on the team now. And I bet there might have been like one.
Yeah, probably.
So they're hoping to shop the company to another tech company. But I actually want to call attention to Marquez Brownlee. He did 2 reviews. He did one for the Rabbit, and he did one for the Humane Pen. And he brought up a very important, like something I think is like really important to pull out, is that cell phones exist. And he wasn't saying that to be a jerk. He was just saying that it's not that the idea of talking to your AI is bad. If we are like, let's just say, assuming there's no moral quandaries with that, I know we're having an evolving conversation literally every day, but just assuming that there were no moral quandaries with it, if there was an AI that could help you and talking to it, cool. And the device separate to do that when you still have
a phone that can do that.
There's things you want to see. If you're going to book my plane tickets, I still want to see what you did before I say, okay. Right?
There's just so many things back in the plane or something. Right by the bathroom. No thanks. It's a little bit of it reminds me of a phrase. It's a solution looking for a problem. Of like, that's neat, but like you don't need a separate device to do that. Like at best, it could be an app.
Yeah. Could have been a because it couldn't have been an email, but it could have been an app.
Yeah.
Oh man. I guess I could pivot into the I'll pivot into the FTC and DOJ.
Okay, I'll take the one after that.
Because even though I was just upset with the federal government, I will give them kudos that the FTC and DOJ have come to an agreement on how they're going to investigate NVIDIA and how they're going to investigate OpenAI and Microsoft. And let me make sure I get assigned. I think I had these flipped backwards before. So DOJ is going to look into NVIDIA's practices on how they've effectively become the the second highest trading company in the last decade as a result of the AI push. So some of that's probably not NVIDIA's fault. Some of that's probably just AI speculation that's blown up, but they're going to have to check what their role is in that. Also, just like how have they cornered the market on that? Like, for example, like why is AMD's stock not necessarily shot up? Why is Intel stock not necessarily shot up? Because you can see, look, like there's a difference between $100 a share versus 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1,000, that's insane. And there's speculation it might go up to even more after today's stock split.
Yep.
So that's they're getting investigated.
And when you see that kind of stuff happen, you're like, all right, like I'm not doing my job if I don't at least like look into that at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like y'all built, and it's like, oh, in actuality, it's like, they built a time machine, and like some dude came back with a programmer's almanac from 3024, and he's like, yo, here's all like the hottest inventions. Start buying. It's like, you guys bought Bitcoin. It's like, nah, that was a couple years ago. It's like, okay, well, I have the next best thing.
Oh, like Biff's almanac.
Yep. Programmer's almanac.
Programmer's almanac. Oh, okay. So I'm actually mad it took me a second on that. What do you mean? Come on, Kenneth. Meanwhile, make sure I get the agency right. Cool. FTC is going to be looking into OpenAI and Microsoft. Specifically, did they skirt any antitrust laws and how they bought some different AI components, specifically the company called Inflection AI. So not necessarily about OpenAI and Microsoft as their own entities and how they're working together, but specifically like some other smaller components that they bought as that group.
Yeah, that I know that has been a concern because what I'll call the AI two-step is that a lot of companies who are big AI pursuers like NVIDIA, like Microsoft, because AI is such a new field, it behooves them to, like anybody who's doing AI, to acquire the company. And anybody who's doing something that could compete with what you're doing, you go and you grab their company, and then you essentially do what EA does, or what EA has done, where they'll buy a company that's like, oh man, you made a really great game, and it's like, yeah, and it's like, we want to buy your company, and it's like, oh, that's awesome, and then like, cool, that was a great game that you made, buy, and then like they effectively they just evaporate. They acquire the people who are within, and they're like, okay, cool, like give me your top 20 developers or your top 10 developers, everybody else is bought. And so like the way that you become one of the biggest companies, I've seen other people report on similar things with like a little bit more granular detail of like, oh yeah, they bought this company, and then like they were operating as like, not a shell company, but they were operating like under their own, and then like eventually, like wouldn't you know it, like a year and a half later they closed, and they bought this other AI company, and like wouldn't you know it, a year and a half later they closed, and like you bought this other company, and like so on and so forth. And so no small company ever has the I won't say opportunity, because you could say no to being bought for however many more millions of dollars over your value that you estimate. Probably not though. But like no small company has the gumption to get big, because like they're like, oh hey, you're an AI company and you guys have been around for 4 years. It's like, yeah, we'll buy you for $400 million, and they're like, all right, yeah, give me my golden parachute. Like, I'll take the money now. So they don't have to worry about actual competition, except from the other big fish who they're like, oh no, they're going in that direction, we're going in this one. No big deal.
And there's a longer conversation with all the venture capital money that's being spread around, and like how that might pressure smaller companies into those deals, or if they ever do become public, that their shareholders are forcing them to take a deal. Like it's one of those things of like Microsoft offered you how much and you're not taking it.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, but y'all don't realize what that's doing to the market. And they don't care because they're just like, I just want to get my return on my investment that I put into your company. A lot of them are not necessarily in the long haul for that company's mission. But those are some of the dynamics that mean this is why there's not as much of a fight for it or fight behind it. And people just don't realize. It's like, oh, yeah, they bought up 10 of them. It's like, what do you mean they bought 10 of them? It's like,
or there's some, middling high person in Microsoft. I'm like, oh, yeah, that dude owns 60% of like the shares of our publicly traded company. So, this person who's on the Microsoft board or like maybe not even particularly high because optics, it's like happens to be, the majority shareholder of our company. Oopsies. And so it's like when the FTC and JOI are looking into stuff like this, like that's the kind of stuff that you have to look for. Of like, oh yeah, like when you go through the big conglomerate of like, oh, I don't want to buy from Walmart, and it's like, well, you're gonna have a rough time because they own a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So you got to go through the web, and it's a lot of work, and it's really hard, and it's very complicated. So they got their work cut out for them.
Mm-hmm. It's like the end of The Good Place, where you realize like, oh man.
Oh wait, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it. Don't tell me.
Oh,
I'm 40 years behind the general populace. It's on my list. I just keep watching Ted Lasso.
Technically, by Funny or Die spoiler rules, you're like in breach of contract.
Oh yeah, I'm way out of it. I'm in Harry Potter zone right now. Where I'm like, oh wait, I haven't seen the second movie. Don't spoil it. It's like no. It's like you're a little bit behind.
It was Kaiser Soze. The humans blew up the planet and the apes took over. Like, and that's actually.
It's like, oh, what spoilers?
No.
It's like, oh man, this reminds me of the end of the Bible. It's like, well, I haven't read it yet. Don't tell me. Oh man.
Karen, you can't just pivot to Ted Lasso. But no, we're not.
I think I'm in season 3.
But then definitely don't spoil it for Steve.
I'm very behind. I very much enjoy the show, but I'm also like watching television. I'm like, why would I do that when I can just play video games forever? And then I'm like, why don't I put TV on while I'm playing video games? And I'm like, and distract me from the video games? Never.
That is a good point. Speaking of points.
Speaking of bullet points, the next bullet point in the EU, more EU stuff. So Meta will have to ensure that any user data they collect on their platforms are not used to train their AI models, which I think is probably a good strat. It's true, I did mention it. I think it's probably a good strat, like in general. So continuing, advocacy group NYOB filed a suit in 11 countries to force Meta to obtain consent from their users before they use their data for AI training. Generally, good note: opt-in versus opt-out is usually better. Or it's better for the user. Opt-out is better for the company.
They may have said that. So it's possible I'll have to double check the article. It's possible they said that.
Oh, I
apologize in case I put the wrong thing in there.
No, I just threw it in there as to mention. But yeah, it's you have a note in here that it might be a bit late for making them obtain consent because they probably already used that data to train the AI. So to be like, oh yeah, we can do that from now on. Sure.
Yeah.
Now that we're already done.
Yeah, there's not a doubt in my mind that they have already trained.
Oh yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you? They have what, like a decade and a half worth of user data to train on? Like, why wouldn't you? If I was Facebook, I would. Or Meta, whatever.
Yeah. Facial recognition. I mean, just kind of go down the laundry list of things that probably already been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it too long, the SADs are going to come in.
I mean, it's like, on some level, it's like if you want facial recognition to work, like you actually do need to train it on your data, because like the data that you probably have is all white people, as we've seen before. When that happens, it's like you get like there's been a number. I think it was Apple had an issue where I can't remember which version of phone it was, but when they had like the facial recognition feature, like because it wasn't trained on non-white people, like there were a bunch of people who like, this is like the person who owns this phone is an Asian man, and it would just unlock the phone for any Asian person because it wasn't trained on that data. Yep. So
I didn't know that one in particular, but I'm not surprised.
I'm not 100% certain whether it was Apple, but I remember it being a thing for facial recognition in that like the data sets weren't diverse enough, and when that happens, you have goofy mix-ups like that where somebody's phone, like the facial recognition sees a picture of a black man and it's like, yep, that person's brown, so good to go. And it's like, come on. It's like when you don't have a diverse team, certain blind spots come through.
Blind spots coming through. Almost like that photo that people were at. Wait, I'm not going to jump into that one because I'm not know that news story by the top of my head. Like someone was trying to make the U.S. presidents a different color on Google search, or was it ChatGPT?
I did not hear about that one.
That's what I'm saying. All right, I'm gonna.
We'll look that up for next week. That sounds hilarious.
Look that up and come back on it. But speaking of disappointing AI,
oh yeah, I see.
So I'm going to say what the statement has been from Google, and I'm going to talk about my own personal experience. So if you've been on Google by any time the last couple of weeks, anytime you've searched for anything, there was one to be made Nazis be black and POC. That was it. Thank you. Yeah. Ooh. If you could tell me which AI that was, that would be great.
Oh, I see. Taryn's comment. Yeah, Taryn said there's one that made Nazis be BIPOC.
It's like, yikes.
Oof, McDougal.
Plus, also, we should probably say a different word so we don't get the ban hammer.
Yeah, it's already too late.
Yeah, that's right. We did. Yeah, we already said it. Dang.
We're in it. We're in it now. Heart of the
cards. Oh, Microsoft's AI. Okay. Yeah. Because why not?
I mean, that's I was that the one that was a conversational AI? Because I remember there was a lot of problems with that when that came about. Where it was a conversational AI, and like it'd be like, oh, what's your opinion on this thing or whatever? Then it's like, oh yeah, and because it pulls from the internet, like I think it was like 4chan was like, yo, we're going to try to poison this AI by like feeding it like a whole bunch of like super sus conversation, and like it just became completely unhinged like in really short order because like they jumped on it really early on, and it was like, oh yeah, like most of the data that we've consumed is from 4chan users, so oops.
It's not smart.
I gotta look up what that AI was. I don't remember which one it was. There's some chatbot.
Yeah. While you're looking that up real quick, so the Google has said that they're going to reduce the amount. Either they didn't say reduce entirely, which I think is the key word. Is they're going to reduce the amount that the AI overviews show up in your search, because as users found out, if you ask for how to find pizza, or sorry, how to make a less goopy pizza, like to make your cheese stick more, you're getting options to throw glue, right? Or how many wraps would you eat? People have probably already seen all those.
That's
so in my personal experience using Google search over the last week, I've still seen a lot of these AI overviews, particularly because I'm searching for stuff for the show, or I'm searching stuff for like reviews all the time. And specifically, what I noticed the most, though, is a question. So if you're phrasing anything like a question, that seems to make the overview come up the most. If I'm just like searching bad boys, looking for photos of bad boys and stuff like that for my review I just wrote, not necessarily the same. So far, and again, y'all's mileage may be different on that, but that's at least just what I've seen. And again, that's an anecdotal experience, obviously, so don't take that to be fact, but that's just what I've seen so far.
I was gonna say something, blah, 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 blah. The like, how do you make your like pizza gooey or your cheese gooey on your pizza or whatever, and it being like, yo, put glue on it. Reminds me of my uncle used to work for what was it? What company was that? They did Watson, IBM. He used to work for IBM, and he was explaining like one of the major difficulties in creating a bot that understands human language is like understanding the nature of something and like the subject of the topic of like understanding that yes, while glue is sticky and like gooey, you can't put it on a pizza to make the pizza have that same property. Or like other stuff like conversationally, if you say like, oh, can you pass me my coffee next to my baseball glove? Like just because the word baseball is in the sentence doesn't mean that the whole sentence is about baseball. And like that's one of the major hurdles with like having a conversational like chatbot or like AI of like it's a really hard problem to solve. Like he went into the nitty gritty, and I'm like, I'm a computer scientist, but I'm not that degree of computer scientist. So he kind of lost me in the woods a little bit, but it was it was an interesting conversation.
And Taryn noted the glue suggestion wasn't even 4chan; it was just AI pulling from Reddit.
What a meme!
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, I did pull up the other thing. The other story, I just had it and I moved it. Oh no, where'd it go? It was an AI that was trained on 4chan. And it like quote unquote turned into a hate speech machine after literally 24 hours. And I'm like, why would you pick 4chan of all places to train an AI?
I mean, if you train it on Reddit, it's like a 60-40% chance it's going to do that. 4chan is like
90% chance. Or it's more like 102% chance with like a 2% margin of error. But yeah, this other article was back in 2022 when the 4chan AI bot thing happened. So
yeah. We have a lot of friends covering different pieces of AI topics. So hopefully over the summer, I'm going to invite some of them to jump on the show and talk about some of the things that they're working on. Hopefully kind of give us their perspective on things that they're excited about, things they're worried about, and especially with the way these things have been rolled out very quickly with companies just trying to compete with each other. What are some lessons they think people could probably learn from that? Because right now, I think not necessarily that there's an AI bubble. But I feel like it's going to have to cool off at some point because if everyone's experiences are so bad, I think there could be a kind of not necessarily a whiplash, but like we've talked about metas where everyone's upset that it just showed up in the search function and they're like, I don't want this.
It's also worse than their regular search feature,
which is amazing. Which is amazing to be worse than normal search.
I'm like, I don't know why you would even put it live if it was going to be worse. Like, just wait. Are you rushing?
Pages are loading slower. My Google, I could just focus on Google. My things are loading slower just to get a result that normally would be like, so let's go back to the bad boy. Even if I wasn't asking a question, just looking up a result of like, hey, I just need some photos for Bad Boys to use in the review. And I'm going to credit and stuff. Still taking longer to load than it did in the past. Like,
it's like most companies have a 2 seconds click to paint, like not rule, but like goal, like is usually the standards. Like you click a button, it takes 2 seconds, and the whole page pops up, or at least the page starts to pop up, and like the elements that need to load take another second. But I understand Google's like, oh, we want to put this at the top of the page.
Yeah. And that's not even talking about the energy consumption. But we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, and I'm like, I would rather not have smart results. I'm like, just make me ask better questions rather than use more energy to try to make my question less stupid. I don't know.
Oh man, yeah, but yeah. So we're going to be talking about that more throughout the summer. I mean, it's going to be ongoing conversation, but I just know there's a lot happening, and it has happened. It's coming up in the next couple of months. All right. To end the show, we're just going to talk a little bit about Sony State of Play that happened last Friday. Yep, What? No. Yes.
Yeah. I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah, let's go with that. And so some things we saw out of that. As a VR guy, there was Alien. Oh my gosh, I completely just blanked on the name, and I did not throw it.
Alien John,
yeah.
I mean, I also don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Rogue Incursion.
Yeah, there we go.
I do want to make one technical note. It is not the first Alien VR game. Alien Isolation technically has that distinction, but a lot of people probably did not play that version of the game. So this is not necessarily even with a mod. You could load it into your VR headset back on like the early Oculus and the Rift days, and play a VR version of it. It's terrifying. It was like if you couldn't handle Alien Isolation before, you definitely couldn't handle the headset. Like I have had it at a friend's house and they were playing it, and people would be like 2 seconds in and just like, nope.
I'm
like,
scared.
You haven't even seen the thing yet. They're like, nope.
It's too real. It's too real.
Too real. So Aliens Rogue Incursion looks good, but it's not by the same studio. So I'm kind of curious about that. I think the biggest thing I saw in there was looked like there was a pulse rifle, and there's like face huggers and stuff running around. There might be multiple aliens. So while it's not like Aliens Colonial Marines or anything like that, as far as like a big shooter, it may not be 100% alien type horror. So it might be a little bit of a mix of like, they're still terrifying, but maybe you have an opportunity to sort of defend yourself a little bit better than you did in like Isolation, where it's like you get some sharp sticks.
You run and you hide.
You're running, you hide. You have a flamethrower. You could use it, but you're going to run out. You know.
I guess it's probably like they're trying to hit the Resident Evil vibe, which is like you have solutions, but like they're not very numerous, and you have a limited amount of them. So like if you mess around too much, you're gonna find out.
Yeah. If you're like, I'm just gonna blow them away, it's like,
It's like, I'm out of ammo. It's like, well, I'll just reload.
Let's see. You remember a couple weeks ago, Helldivers 2, they were trying to put a PSN requirement on that. Everyone thoroughly said no.
Yep, it got review bombed to infinity and beyond over the course of like 2 days. Like it's like all great Steam reviews, and then like it's the day that it's announced that like, oh yeah, like sometime later this month you need a PSN account. Immediately like inversion, like as many good reviews, boom, people were like, let me flip it back. Negative. No.
So God of War Ragnarok is finally coming to PC, but Sony seems keen on forcing the PSN requirement, which is like, did y'all not learn the lesson?
I mean, at least it's like a little bit better, wherein like Helldivers 2 is a game that was already released. And like they apparently said it somewhere, but like people aren't buying the game knowing that you have to do that. And also there's a bunch of people who already purchased the game who are in countries where PSN doesn't exist. So like you just suddenly cannot play this thing that you already purchased. That's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But for at least Ragnarok, I don't think it's out yet. So like if they're what they learned was say it ahead of time, and then people just won't buy it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, they would just be like, nah, not doing it.
And I'm like, there's plenty of free games that I have on the Epic Game Store that I will not play because I'm not making an account for nothing.
Yeah.
If you want me to make an account to play a single game, I'm like, no.
Was there anything else that stood out for you from the State of Play?
Probably not, because I'm like in my brain, I'm just like it's just data, and I'm like, I don't have a PS5, I don't have a PS4, so I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Only thing I was looking for, which already happened, was the Ghost of Tsushima coming out to PC, and I'm like, cool. I will buy this and then put it next to the other wonderful single player experiences that I have not played yet. I did play actually some of Ghost of Tsushima at my partner's house because she had it. And then when she got her PS5, she gave me her PS4 so that I could play it, and then I never did, and so I gave it back.
Come on, man.
Because I was like, well, the only thing I want to play is Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm like, I'll just wait for it to come to PC.
Well, when you finally do play it, let me know how you feel. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I got, I think 1/3 through it before I think, what was it? I think the second Cal Kestis Star Wars game came out, and she was like, get off my PlayStation. I'm playing this now.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
That'll do it. I was gonna say I thought maybe running around on the horse got you distracted, because I also noticed myself just kind of like
just going screenshots. It's like, wow, look at this. That was me with Elden Ring. I'm like, wow, screenshot. This is cool. Wow, look at that. This is a screenshot.
It's like I completely forgot about that whole vengeance I was gonna go get.
Mm-hmm. I think my desktop background right now is a screenshot from Elden Ring. Is it?
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Look at him.
Looks
Look
pretty
at
sick.
him.
My character's all swagged out and whatnot.
Swagged.
Top to bottom.
So I guess the biggest thing out of that was Silent Hill 2. I've been a pretty big fan of that over the years. It's also hard to play Silent Hill right now, just because like if you don't have actually I need to double check if there's PC releases. I'll take that back. I don't actually know it off the top of my head. But as someone that ends up playing a lot on older console, like back on the PS2 and Xbox, those games have like shot up in value. Makes it really hard sometimes to go back and play. I own all of them, but it's like, dang. Like one of them I didn't have. I didn't have Silent Hill 4, The Room, and like that was $110.
But if you already own it, then you have the legal wherewithal to just download it from the internet so you can play it again. Yeah. Totally cool to just download stuff that you purchased at some point, but maybe you can't find it right now, but you want to play it anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We here at Team 4-Star do not condone child violence. We do, however, find it hilarious.
Oh man.
So we're gonna say, yeah, but kind of like we were talking at the beginning of the show. And we'll see what happens after Game Fest is happening right now, so we'll see what happens that comes out of that. But seems like at least the summer might be a little slow, and then we might get. I don't know. Are we gonna get like a bunch of winter releases? You think like but you kind of feel like you do the summer announcements to kind of build for the winter. So either people are kind of holding their stuff for their own showcases, but State of Play didn't drop a ton of stuff. Like it wasn't that massive. Like we already knew Silent
when
Hill
you're paying as much as you do for a 1 minute slot, like. You know, you're probably like, I'll release all the real big stuff at my own event when I can do it for vastly reduced costs.
$250,000 or a Zoom subscription.
Yeah, right.
Or, sorry, Streamlabs subscription to push it to our YouTube channel. I should double check because it did say ad. So I'm wondering what they consider an ad. So do they mean like someone that's advertising?
That's true.
Or do they mean like
I assume that it meant like a presentation of like to show a video that's a minute long that's the cost.
And that's how I read that too. But I want to double check in case they're like, no, it's like in case.
Nah, man, yeah. It's $1 million per minute of presentation and $250,000 for a minute of ad. There you go.
Yeah. Get that money, Jeff Keighley. All right.
He's saving up to buy a house.
It's the only way we can do it these days. Taryn, you got anything else for us? Yeah. All right. That's cool. Let's see. I was not ready for a throwback of the week, so I might save that for
yeah, the throwback of the week will be when we did throwbacks of the week. Remember that? That was pretty great.
Yeah.
Or we'll hit the old reliable Jak and Daxter 2 and 3.
I shot a podcast promo for us a while back, and literally the ending was like encouraging people to go sign up for Patreon. Where it's like, you might get more articles and videos from us about this or that, or maybe it's about Jak and Daxter, and then I would say like another thing, and I'm like, or maybe it's Jak and Daxter 3.
Nice.
Kept like putting Jak and Daxter into the promo.
Hey, if we keep saying it, maybe we'll will a fourth game into, well, technically fifth game into existence.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that that's a platform they haven't gone back to.
Yeah, maybe this for them it's just not as much of a stable platformer, because we have gotten like remade. I'm not sure if it's remake or remastered, but we have gotten like Crash Bandicoot games that were remade. So maybe like they're just like, that's our mascot, and Jak and Daxter is cool, but not our mascot.
Come on.
For me, it's like particularly impactful because they timed it well. Because I'm like, I was a kid when Jak and Daxter 1 came out, and then like by the time Jak and Daxter 2 came out, I was like more of an adolescent, and I was like, oh, cool, Jak and Daxter, but with guns. This is great.
Yeah. Or a Sly Cooper.
Yeah, I feel like Sly Cooper is like similar, where like anybody who's in what's the PlayStation Smash game is like a contender for like a mascot, but like none of them are Crash Bandicoot, and Crash Bandicoot's definitely the PlayStation mascot.
Yeah.
It's like, Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, Parappa the Rapper, Ratchet and Clank, and I don't remember anybody else who's in the game, but none of them are important. Those are the top. Those are the big ones. Oh yeah, Kratos.
Kratos.
What's that dude's
I
name?
guess maybe some of the Hellgaff from Killzone.
Yeah. Nathan Drake.
There was a platformer game, right? You're saying there was like a Sony Smash. It's like
that's the game I'm thinking of. The All Stars. I'm just listing off characters who were in All Stars, and like they're basically the other contenders for PlayStation mascots, but like it's definitely Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, right. Before we end on the thing we said we were going to end on, forgot Madam Web.
Oh yeah.
Karen said, "Did you know that Acolyte had massive views in the first 24 hours?" I'll be honest. This is not about a dig on Star Wars. This is more on, I don't trust, if you're not going to publish your streaming views, I don't trust you when you say it was bad, and I don't trust you when you say it was good.
That's fair.
That's like somebody being like,
Liz Lemon, numbers among my employees.
Oh gosh, it's like, I swear they exist, and it's like,
she said we need the receipts.
We need the receipts.
Yeah, it's like that's fair. If everything was as good as you say it was, you would give me hard numbers.
Yeah. So, and again, I do think that probably all things being equal, like that probably does mean that it did a really well opening. So like I'm not saying that it didn't. It's just, but should I then like be like I'm not gonna then repost and be like, yeah, it's the best compared to like I don't have a Star Wars series to compare it to.
Yeah,
I guess I have to go back
through it.
Oh, what's that?
I said I watched it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
but I'm like,
I gotta watch it. Maybe I'll watch it after this. because I was trying to watch it yesterday and I fell asleep. Not during the show. I just like was tired. Because it came out Wednesday. It's coming out Wednesday nights, correct? Or did it come out Tuesday night? Tuesday, yeah. So I'm like, I had Furiosa. I watched it again on Tuesday. Did Bad Boys on Wednesday, so I could get the review out. So my nights have either been movies and just having it. Yeah. And then last night was the only chance I could have watched it, but then ended up falling asleep. So I'll try to do that tonight. And
nice. I enjoyed it. I'm a very simple brain Star Wars fan where I'm just like, yeah, just give me more Star Wars. That's all I want. It doesn't need to be the best thing I've ever seen. Like, it just needs to be. Like, I don't watch Star Wars because it's a cinematic masterpiece. Like, I watch it because like there's lighty up swords and there's force abilities and there's like, 20 years worth of lore that I've been consumed by. And like, it's just part of my identity now.
Sir.
I mean, when it's really good, like what was the one? Like what Rogue One, absolutely amazing. That other one, Andor, absolutely amazing. Like when it just so happens that the presentation and the writing is phenomenal, like that's a bonus. But I don't need it to be phenomenal for me to have a fun time.
It's true.
I'm like, if you made a game that was just it's two abilities, and it's the ability to move and the ability to throw your lightsaber at stuff, and just have it be a super reactive game where it's like, oh man, what if you walked into the bar at Mos Eisley and just did a lightsaber throw, and that's the whole, and it's just basically like that, and it's just go to a different place and then do lightsaber throws over and over. That'd be a fun game. That I would have fun with that.
It's called Jedi Academy Jedi Knight.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like when you put the cheat codes in and you just have like ultimate, like full force bar. Just
it's like
so evil. I was just like lightning. It's literally just lightning out of my hands all day, every day.
I walk into a room shooting out lightning.
Like the Rancor mission where you don't have you don't have your sword or anything. You have to improvise. I'm just like, I'm standing there,
just walking around, just walking through the Walmart, just lightning shooting out, and it's like, oh, did you find everything today? And it's like, yeah, I'm doing good. And just like frying like the lights or like the bread or whatever. It's like, sir, why are you electrifying that milk? And I was like, because I got unlimited force cheats. Like, I understand. It's just like just floating in the air. Yeah. It's like I got it. I might as well use it.
I could turn it off.
But why would I do that? It's like I now have unlimited power, just like the Emperor said.
All right. Last thing, because if we just jump off.
Yeah. Same.
Madam Web.
I wanted it to be good, and I saw it with the expectation that it would be at least okay. And it's super underperformed. For me, it was like there were a number of points where they present everybody to be not an idiot, and then like they have them purportedly have skills that would make them not an idiot, and then they're like, hey, like they do things only because like the narrative like demands that this be a problem. And the reason I didn't like it was because there's a couple of points where you could have had the same thing happen but for a better reason, and it would have been a really low-hanging fruit. Like the first one is when I don't remember the other characters' names. Madam Web meets like the three girls and she saves them from not Spider-Man. And they're like, yo, that dude who's trying to kill you is gonna kill you, so I need y'all to wait here, and I'm gonna be back in like, I don't know, like
however long it takes to travel to Amazon.
Like 4 hours or something, and I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go to my apartment and look at some stuff, and I'm gonna be right back, and you all gonna be cool. And then like they have them like, hey man, it's been approximately the time that she said it would take, but I'm hungry. And I'm like, if you had changed it a little bit, where like maybe she gets delayed, maybe she has to fight not Spider-Man, or something, she like like trips or she has a vision and hits her head or something where she passes out, and it just takes her longer to come back than she wanted, and they like wait a full day or something, and they're like, yo, maybe she lied and she's not coming back or whatever. There's a diner right up the street, we can just go get food real quick and then be back. Like, you didn't have to have them do the whole stupid thing where they're like dancing on the table or whatever. I'm like, why would any of them do that? They know that this man is trying to kill them. Why would any of them do that? If somebody tried to kill me and was doing Spider-Man type stuff, I'm not just going to go to a diner after a few hours and be like, I'm gonna probably be all right.
It's like, would I maybe build a rapport with the people I'm like now stuck with? Sure. I don't know if that would then build up so much that we're willing to do public displays of friendship where we're like dancing on a table.
Yeah, I'm like, we've been friends for a while, and I don't know if there's if there's a charisma check you can make where you like, yo, Steve, dance on that table in a diner. This gonna be real funny.
And not unless it involved a ton of tequila.
Yeah, right.
It's just, I think that's a great way to describe it. Is that there's certain elements that are like, we're not necessarily trying to make fun of this piece or that piece. It's in aggregate together. It's like, why did you? It's like it's not even necessarily that things don't make sense. It's like, I don't know if it makes sense that you put it together this way. Her going to the Amazon to find out more about her mom. People picked on that. I'm like, but that's not really the issue. It's you left in the middle of this journey to go do that, and you left the people you're trying to protect to go.
Yeah,
that's.
Like, why? You got money. They couldn't have come with you. I'm like, it wasn't even no danger there. In fact, it was safer, like in Peru or wherever it was. I can't remember where she went. It was safer in Peru than it was where they was. And even then, nothing bad happened to them until they were like, you know what we need to do? We need to all leave. We should go to the hospital with you. And I was like, why? You've been literally just sitting at home or at not Uncle Ben's house watching Land Before Time for like 2 weeks, and you didn't get attacked by not Spider-Man, and then suddenly you're like, oh man, we got to go with you. And I'm like, why? People have babies at home, and he's a medical professional. He could probably do something. You can make it work. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah. It's just
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but it's frustrating because they got all these almost Spider-Man universe things happening where like they won't say who Ben's or what his sister-in-law or something, like what the baby's name is. And it's like, okay. It's all those things happening. They keep teasing a better movie. And what I mean is people are like, oh, you mean Spider-Man? No. I mean, I want to see if the movie had been
Madam Web 2.
Madam Web is just mentoring these Spider Women, and they're already got their costumes on, and they're just going to go off and. But
that's what it should have been.
That's what it should have been. Why are you teasing this in visions and stuff for like 2 seconds? Instead of what are we doing?
And for me, it reminds me of like when I was younger. One of my criticisms of 1, 2, 3 Spider-Man of 1, 2, 3 Star Wars was that this isn't the story to tell. The story to tell that was the more interesting story would have been the Clone Wars, or it would have been here's 1, 2, 3 films about Star Wars that are prequels is all about Anakin and Obi-Wan and how they became such good friends and why it was such a big deal that like Anakin fell. And like that's the story. It's like nobody's asking like, hey man, you know, what was Sauron doing when he was a little kid? Like that's not an interesting story. That's not where the story starts, not for me anyway. But like, you know, I've since changed my opinion on that a little bit. But like for Madam Web, like the interesting part of the story for like any superhero isn't when you take the beginning part of Spider-Man just before Peter gets his powers and you stretch that to the 2 hours of the film and then have the last half an hour be when he's fighting in the wrestling match. Like, that's not the climax of the film.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's how it feels to watch Madam Web, where you're just like, it's like he is like, oh man, you're a scientist? I'm something of a scientist myself, and it's just that for 2 hours. And it's like, oh man, I gotta go have dinner at Harry's house. And it's like, oh man, I gotta go, you know, take pictures of, you know, Flash. Like, oh man, I gotta go over to the the Daily Bugle or whatever. And it's like, this isn't the film. Like, I don't need to see you like having flashbacks or flash forwards or visions at a cookout to like figure it out. Also, like for her mom to have died while she was in Peru, why she grow up in New York?
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like,
quite.
you were born in Peru, and like the spider people were like, don't worry, I'll make sure your daughter's protected. And then he puts you into like the American foster care system. What?
That doesn't seem very protective.
This didn't, you were like, don't worry, I'll make sure she's okay. But like, also, I don't want to work that hard. So by make sure she's okay, I mean, I'll take her to the American embassy, and then I'll talk to her for like 15 minutes when she comes to visit me in like 30 years or so. Okay. I'm like, why not just have the story take place in Peru? I don't know. Well, that was another criticism where I was like, because they wanted to do it in New York and because of the Spider-Man cartoon, I get it. But it was a weird point. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah. It also just, I'm not trying to say like Madam Web always just has to be a support character. It's not at all what I mean. It's just, but it's bizarre try to make her to do different things. And then you've got, so even like take the Spider-Woman stories out of it, but it's weird having him in that spot and then say we're going to shift that action work to Madam Web.
Like given that Madam Web like was I don't know Madam Web outside of the context of the animated Spider-Man TV like cartoon from back in the day. Like I knew Madam Web like from that show, and I don't remember reading Spider-Man comic books where she was around and like doing stuff. But I just might not have had those issues because I was a kid. So you can only buy a comic book whenever you get the money. But it was like I understood her to be like a side character, but I'm like, given how little, like assuming that people probably know even less than me about Madam Web, you could have just started the story right with her having powers and then did a little footnote of like, this is how I got him. It was crazy. A bunch of stuff happened, but it's ultimately not where the story is. Like the real story is that like, these 3 girls are going to be spider people, but like, they're not going to be that unless I do something about it. And I got to help them.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I was going to say that was really bizarre. What was it? Something. It'll come back to me.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like some people got mad because they felt like it got nitpicked to death. And I'm like, but no, it's just different than like, there's different, like the Marvels was nitpicked to death. Like that's a movie where I'll defend. I'm like, no, this is like, there's a lot of things that I think could become Marvel conventions. And for people to then be upset about it and the Marvels, it's like, no. So I'm like, it wasn't my favorite, but I don't think it deserved the ire that it got. Plus, there are people that just kind of came out of the woodworks to attack it because a lot of people just don't. There's a lot of men online who just don't like Brie Larson. So like, so I'm also always trying to like filter that out whenever we have a conversation on the Marvels in particular. But Madam Web was just like, there was a little bit of the fight on that, but I'm like, no, this is just. I think we can universally say like, this is just not. This is not.
Yeah. The thing that I think it suffered from most, I do remember my point, and I'm going to say it first and then say this other one. The thing one was that the dubbing in the final edit of the movie was bonkers. There were multiple scenes where like somebody's mouth was moving and like those weren't the words,
not even
close to what was being said. Like the other thing,
Nando on YouTube does a great video talking about that. He ended up breaking it down pretty well.
Because like I think I may have seen that because I think when I was in the theater, I only caught like 2 or 3 instances where it happened, and then like I was like, that's really weird. That's like not even close to what's being said. But like, the other thing was it felt like somewhere there's like a director's cut of the film that's like much more complete in terms of like its ideas and its presentation. Like I feel like there was like way too much from the film that was cut for them to present the characters as being how they were, and then to portray them as being like almost antithetical to that later, where like, oh yeah, like, oh, this person, like, that this person is like like really reserved, but also really intelligent, but very susceptible to peer pressure or whatever. Like everybody was boiled down to like an idea. And I'm like, I don't really like. It was concise. Like there were certain aspects of their character where they were like, oh, like she's really good at math, and so like when she's like when they're in the car to the hospital, she does the calculation of like, oh, like this number is this, and it's like, and then her contractions are this far apart, and like they're increasing at a rate of this thing, and I'm like, cool, you're good at math. Like you did right by that character to being able to crunch numbers. Like they did some stuff well, but it was like other parts where I'm just like it seems like all of these people who you've told me are very intelligent are just like doing something stupid because like you couldn't figure out a better way to move the story along. And like it's not that the path of that story is like dumb or bad, but like there were lower hanging fruits that like, oh, like a completely reasonable way that they would behave this way is because it just takes longer and they need to eat food, so let's go to the diner. And then like you could have them just be quiet and at the diner, and the woman who's running the face recognition is just like, I got them, they're not doing anything weird, they're just getting food, but I got them. And like that would have worked just fine, and it would have really solidified that like you can go anywhere and do anything and I will track you down and find a way to kill you, because whatever. And I'm like, oh wait, this scene would have been better if they just did this. Like this scene would have been better if they just did this. And it was like that kind of stuff kind of irked me, because I was like, what you ended up doing was stupid. And I'm like, something's missing here. There's a director's cut somewhere where it's like 40 minutes longer and like it probably smooths out some of this stuff. But ain't nobody gonna watch that. Not after this one.
No, not after. I mean, we can get another Morbius though. Yeah.
Oh, it's Morbin time.
Oh man, that I'll save this for like another chat. But just this is like the eternally awkward contract.
Yeah,
because money wise, there's no reason for Sony to give up Spider-Man. Like there's just there's no financial reason to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also just taking L's left and right. And the only thing you can show for yourself is Venom, which at least had like the first one I think was solid. I didn't really care for the second one, but like it still fun. Financially did well. A lot of people still liked it. Mm-hmm. And the third one, maybe it'll kind of like everything kind of gel together well for that one to knock out. But yeah. As long as you do that, end on a high note, it'll be good. But like people are now, because of Madam Web and Morbius, people are worried about what's coming up next, Craven. And people are like,
yeah, I don't expect, I'm gonna watch it because I want it to be good. Like I want to give every time they do one of these films, I want to give it a fair shake. But it's just like, man, like Craven's like at least a character who we're like, okay, cool, like you could mess Spider-Man up like when he lets you, but like but like Craven's like at least a Spider-Man villain I care about. But I'm like, I'm at the point where I'm like, I really want to go into all of these Sony universe Spider-Man films, like, or Sony like Spider-Man adjacent films or whatever we call this universe. I really want to go into each of these with like the desire for it to be good. But I'm like I didn't hate Morbius. Like I was like, this is a totally okay film. Like it's not great, like, but it's like it's perfectly mid, like 4 out of 5. Is it the worst thing I've ever seen? No. Is Madam Web the worst thing I've ever seen? No. But like you said, like, there's folks on the internet who were like, oh man, like this is the worst, blah blah blah, and it's like, I mean, it didn't deliver, but like it's like no worse than any sci-fi.
Movies, it's in the bottom of the barrel though.
Oh yeah, definitely. But like it's no worse than
worst. They may not be a Jonah Hex or Catwoman,
okay,
but like they're.
It's no worse than any D-tier sci-fi TV movie that I've seen, where like the premise is like,
oh good. For something you spend $100 million on.
But my point being, like, as far as like cinema, I'm like, can I watch a sci-fi straight to TV movie called Mega Anaconda and like while I'm doing my homework in 8th grade and still like not turn the TV off? I'm like, yeah. And like, could I, if Madam Web is on while I'm doing homework and like my mom's making dinner, will I turn it off because it's bad background noise? No. But like, it's getting harder and harder to go see these films like with the hope that they'll be good. And I'm like, I'm hoping that like, man, maybe like if you keep making movies, maybe you'll care at least a little bit about not dubbing the final product of the film and then release it. Just reshoot the scene.
Can't do it.
Oh man.
Can't do it.
But maybe Kraven will be good. I think Venom 3 will be fun. I think
I think that'll be fine.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Symbiote horse.
This is gonna sound weird.
Cool.
My complaint about Venom 2 was just I hate when you set things up and don't pay them off. Or make things super obvious, like that's gonna come into play later, and they don't. Because like Carnage's girlfriend having the vocal power, and then that really didn't play into the finale.
And
like,
not really.
It's like, man, it really seems like that's gonna be used in the fight, and it. So I'm like, why did you show it this specific? Not that she used the power. That's not at all what I mean. It's like. But there was clearly you did that intentionally twice. Is there something cut? Is there another version of this fight that
there has to be? Probably. It's like the thing with the old what was it, 2001 X-Men, where Storm just like randomly says like, do you know what happens when a toad gets hit by lightning? The same thing as everything else. And like what was meant like by itself, that's just like a completely bonkers line to have in the film. But what had happened was in the film, like the character who like our Toad like has a whole bunch of Toad facts. It's like, oh, you know how the Toad can jump however high in the air. It's like, oh, you know the Toad can fall from this height. You know, a Toad can do this, blah blah. And he keeps doing all these facts. So when she makes the comment, she's doing it to mimic to make fun of him. But like she just
cut all those
it's just like it's just a cold line of just like, why would you say that? Storm wouldn't say that.
Because she hadn't had a witty line like that the whole movie.
Yeah, that's not something that she would do. Like she would regular Storm would just blast his ass and like that's it.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, there's probably an edit of it somewhere that's a little bit cooler and makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Hopefully, anyway. I like to believe that there's a director's cut that's good for every movie.
Unless you're Kevin Costner, in which case you say the cut that I released is the director's cut, and that's a
oof.
That's a take.
Yeah, Taryn said we can get Snyder cuts galore, but
no. Where's the spray?
No 4-hour cuts of media. Don't make me tap the sign.
Oh man, that's what we need to start having. It's like no 4-hour cuts of media. Always get Jack and Daxter when available.
Jack and Daxter 3 remake. Tap the sign. Oh man.
Cool. All right. It was good.
Solid.
Clippable. Lots of clips. I'm gonna have a lot of work cut out for me after this.
A director's cut, if you will.
Boo.
All right, I'm gonna leave on that. Click.
Gonna leave on that. Thank you all for joining us this week. We'll be back. We'll figure out the date. I'm not even gonna tell you what day because we're out the chat and we'll figure out the date. But we'll tell you what came out of Summer Game Fest because Xbox Game Showcase is on the 10th. So you probably will also know what comes out of that and whether the Call of Duty information is going to drop that there as well. So give you some game announcements and stuff like that. And at some point during this week, I also record some info for the movie fans from like Bad Boys 2 or Bad Boys 2. Sorry. We're on the 4-foot Bad Boys 4, Bad Boys Ride or Die, and just see how it did on the box office. Because if you saw the beginning of the show, I was a little sad just because this summer has been very sorry. I think the movies have been fine. Mm-hmm. The attendance has been not great, so that does not bode well. But maybe when Deadpool and Wolverine get here, maybe we'll.
I'm excited for that one. That one's gonna be good.
Yeah, and do yourself a favor if you've not watched the PSA about not texting during the movie from Deadpool and Wolverine. Go check that out right now.
That was a good one.
Go log off. Go do that right now. Mm-hmm. But Grandmaster Pro,
hey.
Fox Pro. Yeah, Friends and Fro. Yeah, Grandmaster Fro. Cool. Commandership signing off. See y'all next time.
Take care.
Bye, Taryn.
Bye.